8 o'clock. We're a little bit late. Who's ready for some action? Steve? T-Rex, would you like to go out the door? 1, 2, 3, and yes! Out the door. Wow, the sky is white. And that's not a cloud. It's our turn with the smoke today. 65 degrees at 8 a.m. Simultaneous. Suddenly summer and suddenly smoky in New England. It's been on our periphery for several days now. Steve is out. TK is closing the door in case Mitt's trying to show up. Yeah, 65 degrees at this time of the day is a summertime-like feature. But of course, in the summer, if you get down to the 50s and 60s at night, you're pretty comfortable. So we have pretty comfortable air. It's not too humid yet. It's when the dew point comes up and the temperature stays up in the 70s at night that it gets really uncomfortable. Speaking from a perspective of someone that lives in New England and not Florida. In Florida, they'd probably think that is great. Morning. They're here. They're setting up the forms now. All right. You can't pour concrete and rebar without forms. And so here come the first forms. And they'll probably go up pretty quick. Here on the Gulf of Weymouth Big Dig, where the sky is full of smoke. Let's start with the satellite image just of New England. I mean, it's not just smoke. Like right there, that's a cloud. And you can see in the satellite image the thin, well, still looks like altocumulus or maybe some cirrus, hard to tell, and the smoke in the sky. So altocumulus clouds generally 10,000 feet or higher, cirrus clouds generally 15,000 feet or higher. And I would say the smoke is probably, just guess, maybe 10,000 feet or so. I can't smell it here. Can you smell it on the summit of Mount Washington? Probably not. Mount Washington, after a couple of days of snow to start off June, temperatures in the 50s on Mount Washington, even 60s, up around 3,000 or 4,000 feet. So there was a bit of an inversion last night. Here the temperature is about, 6:45, I think I got these. And there were a few spots that were in the 40s this morning, but most of us were in the 50s. And the bellwether of warm air advection is that 66 degrees in Burlington, Vermont at 7 o'clock in the morning with a wind from the south. So whenever you see Burlington, the Champlain Valley, warming up first thing in the morning, we call it warm air advection. And we are going into the 80s today in a lot of spots. Yesterday, it was pretty interesting. The temperature started off the day at 36 in Fryeburg, Maine, and made it up to 80. So a 44-degree temperature rise. Whitefield, New Hampshire went from 32 to 76, also a 44-degree temperature rise. That's what happens when you're in dry air. And so now we'll get into more humid air. The nighttime lows are going to be higher. And we can look at the Boston meteogram. The blue line is the dew point, climbing through the 50s today. Temperature goes into the 80s. Wind a little bit more south than west, so eastern areas of New England near the shore will not be as warm as inland areas. And then tomorrow, look at the blue line going up, and the temperature is back up into the 80s. I think even Boston's close to 90 tomorrow. A lot of people are going to get to 90 tomorrow. And then the front arrives in northern New England tomorrow afternoon. It starts pressing south, and the threat for thunderstorms and heavy downpours certainly has diminished on this Euro meteogram for Boston, but the dew point is up near 70 on Friday. We don't see that triangle with the exclamation point, but there are going to be thunderstorms around, and the Euro and the GFS have really improved their outlook for this weekend, which is somewhat skeptical to me because it's a pretty wholesale change in the amount of rain we get Saturday and Sunday, but Sunday looks like the best for the weekend. As for today, the reason for the warm air advection, 1026 high pressure system that was so chilly for us, now we get on the backside of that high, is offshore, and you have still a potential storm forming off the coast of Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. That's coming at us from the south, but probably not going to make it. So it's that front from the west coming across, a lot of severe weather across the Central Plains yesterday. That front is going to sort of stretch out and come through New England, where right now that front is sort of north-south oriented. By the time it gets here, it's going to be more east to west oriented, and it's going to slow down, but it's also going to be weakening. So we're not expecting widespread severe weather here. The Severe Storm Prediction Center doesn't even have us in a a marginal risk starting on Friday, tomorrow or Friday. So we are getting thunderstorms, but maybe we avoid the widespread severe weather like they've had off to the west. But now with the temperature headed toward 90, our thunderstorms are going to get more potent. Time out for a little lion-like pose. In case you're new here, I do relief art with my pressure washers. I tried to make a T-Rex and a crow a couple of seasons ago, or was that last season? Fun with pressure washer. All right, now let's do fun with NAM. I never finished that meteogram, but it looked more promising, though, didn't it, for Sunday and Monday, for the next front gets here Tuesday. All right, but now we're going to talk about our Wednesday and Thursday. Actually, I'll show you the wind forecast, Kevin, Tempo, even Kevin and your sailboat Tempo for the Twilight Series sailboat race. And the barbs are from the south-southwest today at about 10 knots. Notice it tries to bend in from the southeast a little bit with the heating of the day. The tide is going to be a flood tide. It's the next high tide today is at 7:30, and I think your wind is going to be probably from about 200 degrees or 190 degrees at 10 knots. That's my guess. How'd I do on that? All right, now we'll do the NAM precipitation. And why don't I just show the QPF? Because when I show the thunderstorm activity, they look so tiny. And they really are small, but where they hit, they're going to hit pretty hard. So here comes nothing going on today in the QPF department. So we're dry, nice Wednesday. Tuesdays and Wednesdays are nice if you can get them. That's what we always say. And then tomorrow you see some specks showing up in the southern Green Mountains, and then it's really across northern New York about 4 o'clock, maximum heating of the day. Those showers and thunderstorms are going to have lightning and downpours, and you see tracking from just about west-southwest to east-northeast, probably about 20 to 30 miles an hour, so it could be pouring for a few minutes, and this goes out to Friday at 2 p.m., and at that point you see those stripes of purple blobs. The purple is an inch of rain. So there'll be one town that gets less than a tenth, and another town may get an inch to an inch and a half of rain and thunder through Friday. So most of that action is tomorrow night, late Thursday, into Friday, and then that whole zone is going to shift south after 2 p.m. Friday. It'll be across central New England, and then Friday night and Saturday it'll be across central and southern New England as that front weakens but presses all the way to the south coast over the weekend. And why don't we show that now in the Euro form? By the way, the GFS no longer has a hurricane anywhere next week. It tries to go for the week after with 2 cyclones in the Gulf of Mexico. So the GFS is just a circus when it comes to trying to forecast hurricanes, and there's no sign of any kind of hurricane on the Euro, although I probably should show this from the National Hurricane Center, still watching that area of disorganized shower and thunderstorm activity from Florida to the waters north of the Bahamas, and that may form a subtropical low over the next several days as that moves gradually to the north and east. But it looks now like most of that is going to miss us to the south. And I know last week I was talking about that Alvin in the Pacific. Well, Alvin just completely disintegrated, so no input from Alvin with our weather over the next couple of days. But there is input from the Gulf, and we are going to have the dew point coming up. So that's why we are going to get heavy rain off and on for a few days. And here it is now. Sorry for the delay. The Euro. It's the high pressure system east of Virginia. And you always watch the backside. It's a little far south, but you can't see that storm forming off of Florida just yet. But you do see the front coming in through the Midwest with more thunderstorms today, and then they fall apart before they get here. And then the low is going to track to the north of New England. That's going to bring in the air from the west and southwest. If we don't hit 90 inland today, we will hit it tomorrow. And then there are the showers and thunderstorms in northern New England tomorrow afternoon, and the front is really stretching out. Now it's being sheared. It's weakening, but it's still a boundary, and then the thunderstorms tend to die out at night and then reform on Friday. And again, across central New England on Friday. Now you do see that system coming east of Virginia, and it looks like it's going to move more east than north. So we no longer see the phasing of that energy from the tropics or subtropical energy. But we do have the front right over us. That's the reason for the heavy downpours and thunderstorms on Saturday. They may not make it to the south coast. You know, often thunderstorms go to die around the Cape Cod Canal. So don't cancel your plans for the weekend. Just be ready for the play-by-play I know a lot of more graduations happening Saturday afternoon. It's letting up, and then Sunday, here comes some nicer weather. Looks nicer on all the guidance that maybe we shake that low-level moisture and we get breaks of sunshine and just a slight chance for a shower or a thunderstorm, but mostly confluence aloft, and it's a very weak high-pressure system, 11 millibar high-pressure system coming in Monday, Sunday night Monday, and then here comes another system now. Yesterday and the days before, it looked like we may have a low forming near Nantucket with a possible nor'easter type situation, week 1, June style, on Tuesday, but now it looks like just a front coming at us, but it is a potent front, but instead of having any kind of an easterly component, it's more of a southerly component with showers and thunderstorms. Those may be drenching, so if you miss the rains on Friday, Saturday, you may get them at the south coast there on Tuesday, and then Wednesday. The upper level low next week looks like it's going to be mostly over the Great Lakes and lifting to our north, so it's going to be more stable, and it looks like we're going to have just a chance for a shower and a thunderstorm here next Thursday, and now this is going out to Friday, June 13th. Friday the 13th is 240 hours, and at that point, there is a very weak front nearby, but the temperature's rebounded, or the thickness has rebounded back to 570 decameters, and I talk about these thickness numbers because warm air is less dense than cold, so the higher the level of the 500 millibars, the higher up it is, 570 decameters. That 570, you can often add 20 and say, okay, it's going to be near 90 degrees next Friday. So that's the long and short of that, mostly the long. And I talk about the 540 decameter being cold enough for snow, and that's out in Western Canada. So some summers you do still see the 540 line across Canada, but those often portend early cold autumns, but we're not going there just yet. All right, I think we're done with the weather now. 12 minutes in. We've got Steve on Steve's Rock and T-Rex right next to my Relief Art T-Rex. Aren't they just so chill? They love the hazy, lazy days of summer. Oh, I didn't show the smoke forecast, did I? All right, the smoke forecast. The heaviest smoke is right over us right now, and you can see that swirl of a storm off of near Bermuda, and the smoke kind of going up over New England and getting pulled down around that ocean storm, so you can get a good sense of the upper level flow, and that smoke is thinning out over New England late today and tonight, and so I think we'll have marginally smoky weather. Oh, and there's another satellite image I wanted to show, and that was the off of Africa. Look at that plume of dust coming off of Africa. How are you supposed to form a tropical cyclone in dry, dusty air, and that dust spreading across much of the Atlantic? So in the Euro, we trust hurricane-free around the United States for at least a couple weeks. When we start seeing it show up on the Euro instead of the GFS, then we'll take it more seriously. And speaking of serious, oh, look at this. Looks like I'm in the Serengeti myself here now. That's got to come down. I got to make room for a real garden in the worm farm, so I moved it off the hill, and I burned a bunch of it last night, so I'm going to get rid of this. And I did find a pea plant underneath there that survived, and there's a bunch of dill, the dill seeds itself, but 1 or 2 pea plants isn't going to do it for me. Not sure what I'm going to do. And I got some tomatoes I'm trying to put in. So we're obviously in the in more part. And my tomatoes are looking pretty hurt. And one of them broke off. And I put it in yesterday to see if it would survive. And some of that lettuce is surviving too. Some romaine there. And the weeds. So if you're not on your garden to weed it all the time, it doesn't really work, does it? All right. Yesterday, mostly just kind of observing the sky, the planes, and the boats yesterday. And maybe there's some T-Rex and Mitt and Steve in there. I can't really remember. All right, so thanks for watching. And don't cancel your plans for the weekend, but we are going to have at least a little bit of rain. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow. And more from yesterday. Starting the end more again early because it's just so pretty. I love seeing the reflection of the boats off the water. This is now Tuesday, June 3rd, airing on Wednesday, June 4th. Suddenly summer is happening before our eyes. can hear the construction equipment and a catbird relentlessly squawking at Steve. Where is it? Steve's under the table. Where's that bird, Steve? Is he driving you nuts or what? I don't know where he is. Blinded by the sun. Chilling on this beautiful morning. Almost time to go out, explore the day after we're done at the buffet. Mitt, you're so patient. "10:30. Feel a light breeze coming in off the ocean. Just gorgeous. A lot of action down in the water. Not sure I recognize that one. I do recognize this one. Mooring tender from Wessagusset. Tending moorings. Gorgeous. We'll probably have some people down on the beach. There's somebody on the deck over there. And I think I already see some sunbathers gathering. And why not? Sunburn season. Lather on the SPF. Second of two tugs to have gone by in the last few minutes. They have a tanker this afternoon. Coming on 1 o'clock. Got a bit of a breeze. Putting out the sails, airing out the sails. Actually, that sail's being furled, isn't it? We've got some traffic. That tugboat, Independence, and my favorite tanker, Nor'easter, flying the waters of the Gulf of Weymouth into the wind. Thanks for the fuel. Gonna need the air conditioners here for a couple of days before the heat may come back on again next week. No. Whatever. Suddenly summer for now. Even with the onshore breeze, we're up to 70 degrees at Logan Airport last I checked. Makes you feel a little small, doesn't it? Tugboat's pretty big also. There it is, 70 with an onshore flow. Tomatoes have had a rough upbringing. They haven't had enough love, but we're trying. A little conditioning today, a little TLC. I'll make a spot down there for you guys. Tiny bit of smoke on the horizon, but not much. 2 p.m. And the fuel gets distributed as energy through the wires, and we've got a lot of interesting things going on right now. Planes are taking off toward the ocean. That one's so quiet going overhead. Then they turn south, and so he's only up about maybe 8,000 or 9,000 feet, not even. And then this one is up around 30,000 feet, and it's called conditional instability. If there's a condition like a plane causing air to expand and then contract, the wave produces the condensation, and there is a little bit of emission in there, but mostly it's just condensation trail, contrail, and then that is smoke right there from the fires in Canada, and then that's an altocumulus layer of authentic cloud with a warm front trying to develop over us. And with the conditional instability, those contrails sometimes dissipate and sometimes propagate. It's a cloud. It's mostly H2O. There are little bits of emission, but they're certainly not chemtrails. They're condensation trails, contrails. and they're crisscrossing over there. And then in between the cloud on the bottom and the contrails on the top, that is smoke right in the middle. So we've got a little of everything in the sky. Thank goodness for the littlest smoke. So it's kind of a warm frontogenesis happening, and then total blue sky with the finally high pressure, like every Tuesday. We are in a streak of incredible Tuesdays and Wednesdays. It's all about the waves. Rhythm. Weather has rhythm. Just saw the first two dragonflies of the season. Right there, can you see them?
Yeah.
So those contrails are sliding off to the southeast, making for an interesting time lapse. And look, they got waves like an alligator. Dragonflies, mass consumers of mosquitoes and gnats. There he is. How about an egret? It's a big one. So pleased that the smoke has decided to go pretty much around us. It's past 7 p.m. now. Sun sparkle. So our time lapse will feature the clouds up aloft coming in from the west and northwest. At low levels, there was a breeze from the east, but there were no cumulus clouds because the atmosphere stabilized. We lost the upper level low. How many times have you heard me say upper level low lately? Probably getting tired of it. So I won't say it again regarding this weekend and next week. I'll just play us out with a couple of time lapse from Cape Cod and from here on the Gulf of Weymouth. Not a lot of progress on the Big Dig today. Gorgeous day. Tuesdays are good if you can get them. I don't think our Wednesday's too bad either, but eventually we should get some. More. And more. And more. Most assuredly, smoke on the horizon. Day of maritime fun. Look at that, flying across the sea. Great. Thanks for watching. Until tomorrow.